minor or a seventh, the fifth it doesn't really change the colour in any way.
Okay,
It
right,
slightly thickens the texture. That's the only thing it does. It's the one note that you can leave out and not
okay,
change the sound of the chord. Now, if it was a minor seven flat five or a diminished seventh, it's
right.
got to
Then,
be there.
right,
You
right,
know, it's got to be there. And also, on a dominant chord, it might be a flattened fifth or a sharpened fifth, in which case, if you leave that out, you are changing. But if it's just an ordinary dominant chord, um, you can leave it out.
right,
This one we're on is just a minor seven, and in a minor seven, it's really neither here nor there whether you
right.
play the fifth. So I'm leaving it out because I think there's sufficient there. Doesn't sound a great deal of difference, so if I put it in.
Right.
Now, the next bar, there's something interesting that you can do here. I'm just going to play you first of all a D7
Okay, so
chord.
let me make a suggestion as we go forward, okay? And perhaps I find it that it's helpful to me to work with a lead sheet that has the melody, the
Yep,
has the lyrics, because I know the song from the lyrics, and very often my sense of timing and everything is it's helped. I know where I am a little bit better when there's a lyric as well. So
yep.
I,
You're
I think
absolutely right.
I was able to find a lead sheet that I thought was a very good one from Dick Hyman.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, and if you want, I can send it to you by email, and you can take a look at it
If
and tell me what you think.
if you could, that I'd be really grateful because
Okay.
you're absolutely right with the lyrics. The
I need all
lyrics
the
are
help I can get.
yeah, the lyrics are of profound importance. They really are. And if I mean, I've got to say, I'm a bit guilty of not always looking at the lyrics, but you should do
No, I'm
definitely.
saying I need more
Because
crutches than you do.
well,
Like,
no, the lyrics, you know, they give the song meaning and they really do help. You know, I mean, if you listen to Frank Sinatra singing
yeah,
something, you get the
I was
phrasing,
thinking of
don't
Frank
you know?
Sinatra too.
So just going to this D7 thing. So
Is
that's an
the only thing
ordinary.
the only thing that we have in common really is that I think I enjoy the music as much as you do. No, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just that I have the frustration of struggling to play it. That's the only problem.
Okay, so here's the D7 chord: D, F sharp, A,
Okay.
and C. Now, if I put E on, that would be a ninth. If I lower it, make it a flattened ninth, you get that sound. Now, if I take the D away,
That's a diminished chord, right?
that's the diminished chord. That's it, absolutely. And whenever you have a melody where it's on a dominant seventh chord and the melody notes are the third, the fifth, or the seventh, you can play a diminished chord. So in this case, all those three notes are in the bar. So you can play an ordinary D7 on the first one and then just play block chords. Now, block chords means that you play the melody note, the same note, one octave lower with the left hand, and then the remaining notes in between. So you play.
Yeah, do
Which,
explain that slowly, and
yeah, sure.
yeah,
So let's go through it again then.
that's
So,
what I'm struggling to try to be able to do.
no, don't worry. I know I'm putting a lot of concepts and
Okay,
I don't expect for a minute you're going to grasp them all straight away. But you've got them on the recording then, you can sort of
right.
muse through them afterwards. I mean, if you're anything like me, when I read a book or anything, I get to the end of a few pages and I think, I can't actually remember anything. Anything at all. So then I read it again and I might remember a couple of the, gradually it sinks in. So
Right,
there's the D7.
right.
The ninth is E. Flatten the ninth, so D7 flatten
Okay,
ninth. Take the root away and we have a diminished seventh chord.
right.
Now, those three notes, the third, the fifth and the seventh, are all part of that diminished seventh chord. And it follows that if you play a tune where the melody note is on a dominant seventh, is the third, the fifth or the seventh.
In other words, if the melody note is within the diminished or the flat nine chord.
Yes, yes,
Right.
absolutely. Then you can play it like this as what they call a block chord. It's like jazz pianist
Wait, what was
George.
the word you said? The what? A what?
It's called a block chord,
Block chord. Right. Okay. I know.
and also you'll hear it referred to as a four-way close.
Okay.
Now that's the big close, meaning your hands are close together like that.
Right.
So you play the melody note. Now whatever that melody note is, you repeat it with your left hand below, and then the remaining notes of the chord you put in with your right hand. So the first, you can't really do that on the D. On the D, you just have to play a bog standard ordinary D7, and then go.
So what you're showing me, this is unique to the diminished chord. Is that it? It's
Yeah. Well, no, sorry, it's not. No.
Okay.
No. No, you can do block chords on.
so,
on
so
lots
what
of
you did
different
was
chords.
you went up the diminished chord in the different inversions of the
Inversions.
same
Yeah.
diminished chord.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And it just kind of works nicely.
Right, I love the
Now,
diminished harmony. So
Yeah.
I worked on diminished chords because they're so beautiful that
Yeah.
I think I can I can understand that. Yeah.
Now, have you heard of what we call drop two voicing at all?
I've heard of it, but I haven't attempted. Right,
Okay.
I've heard of it, and I can appreciate how it sounds better, but I haven't really worked at it.
Takes a bit of, sort of working through, but let's take that first diminished chord, that one. We take the next to the top one.
Just for my own knowledge, I have a little bit of confusion into terms of naming the diminished. Like I can see where that would be an F7 flat 9, but what diminished chord would you call that, an F sharp diminished? What?
Well, to be honest, it's because F sharp's down at the
Right,
bottom.
four
Yeah,
diminished chords are the same. There's 4, 4, and 4. So
absolutely. So you could either say it's an F sharp diminished chord or an A diminished or C or E flat. But you generally name it after whichever note is in the bass. So you would say that's an F sharp diminished. But it's exactly the same chord as A diminished, as C and E flat diminished.
okay.
So the drop two voicing, you take an ordinary block chord or four-way close, and drop two refers to taking the
Second from the
note,
top, you drop it a half step.
And-
No, you
and
put
no,
it down
no.
at the bottom. Put it down
put
at
it
the
down
bottom.
at the bottom like that, and it's a slightly more contemporary feel. So I'll play it both ways as block chord. And now drop two. So
I'll tell you something. I think you gave one of these things, like we use the term pearl. I don't know if they use that same term in Great Britain, but the idea, I didn't realize when they're going up the scale, they're going up in diminished. When they're usually moving like that, the reason they're able to move in such a predictable way is that they're playing diminished chords.
Yep.
That's the trick.
Absolutely.
That's a
Yep.
great trick.
Yep.
Because I was always wondering, how do you know exactly where to go? So if you know the diminished chord, then you just, as long as you know the inversion of the diminished chord, then you just go up.
Absolutely, yeah. There's
I
also.
never realized that before. Okay.
Have you come across what Barry Harris calls the
Exactly.
major?
That's Barry. I love Barry Harris.
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good thing to learn his scales. And if I take a C6 chord.
Yeah, I've seen the sixth diminished. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could do that in drop two. it's a gorgeous sound, that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, personal choice, that, really, whether you do block chords. I like that, and equally so, I like that.
Wait, did you just show me two different things?
I played it as a block chord first, like that.
Right.
And then I played it as drop 2, exactly the same chord. I mean, instead of playing that, took that note out, played it
Right.
down there. You notice that in drop 2, you're only playing 4 notes now.
Right. So
You're
right,
not
I see what
playing-
you're doing, but the drop two, I'm not. It's like it doesn't click immediately. I have to work on
Oh,
it so I recognize it when I see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the concept is fairly straightforward.
No, I
Actually,
understand it. I understand it perfectly. Now
Yeah.
that I understand it, I'll work on it during the week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say applying it is a bit of a longer job, obviously. I mean, it does take quite a bit of practice, that.
Right.
Now, we're on to G major 7, and again, we've got the third in the melody. I would play that. So I'm going to go through the way I like to think is melody.
What bar are you on? Where are you?
It's I'm on the bar 7.
Okay.
Yeah. So melody, always put the bass in next. Now, the next thing I always say is the third as close to the melody as possible. In this case, the melody is the third.
Okay.
So then the next note that you want is the major 7. Now, you could put the major 7th there, actually. But I'm going to do it there because I really like that shape, the 2/3 with the major 7th in the middle, and then the left hand, put the 5th in. Now, the 5th, as I say, is optional. Also, don't forget that you can double notes, like the root is one that you can always have 2 of, like that. Or you could have the 5th as well. Now, what I'm going to do here is put an extra chord in on beat 3. I'm going to put an A minor 7 chord in. A minor 7 leads nicely to D minor 7 because it's a root progression, root down a 5th.
Okay.
And that is the strongest chord progression that there is.
Right. I just didn't know you could
It's-
put minor in front of minor. I'd never heard that before, but that's okay. It's
Yeah.
good.
Well, it's like, say if that was in the key of C, that would be A minor 7 would
You'd
be
be
chord.
putting a G minor in front of a C minor.
No, what I'm saying is if this was in the key of C major,
Right.
then A minor 7 would be chord 6,
Right.
D minor 7 would be chord 2, which is a very common chord progression.
Right.
You know, like you get
Right.
1, 6, 2, 5.
Right.
So basically, I'm putting the A minor 7 in because you are actually going towards the key of C, except for when you get
Let me
there.
tell you how much I appreciate this. This is the
Oh,
first
thank
time.
you.
Because I mean, the reason that I appreciate is that you're working within the context of what I'm working on, and you're putting together so much stuff that I've struggled with on my own. I just want you to know how much I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, now I'm just doing a little movement here. That's taking me to A minor 7. The movement there I did was, and you can do this on a major chord, go from the 5th, raise it a semitone to the sharpened 5th, and then you could, that if you were staying on G, that would take you to the C.
Right.
Which is a common way of when you've got a long melody note or a silence in the melody to create movement without changing the chord. But I'm also changing the chord there to A minor 7. So that's A minor 7, root, 7th, 3rd, and then I've got the 5th there.
Okay.
And then I'm just creating a little bit of a sort of movement here. So I've gone from A minor 7 up to the 7th, D minor 7. I also put a ninth. A ninth on a minor chord is gorgeous. And then I'm playing this voicing on G7. Now, have you heard of upper structure triads at all?
I've heard of them, yes.
Okay. Right, if you take a G7 chord and play the sort of the basic skeleton of the chord, the root, the 7th and the 3rd, and then you
A
take...
G major 7?
No, a G dominant 7.
G dominant 7, okay.
G7. There are 4 major triads that you can play then on top of that.
Okay.
So one of them is a tone above the root. So an A triad over a G7. I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you on a C7 because down there...
Yeah, let's do it on C. And then you'll say like, so the 2 major would be the upper structure?
Yep, so a D major chord on
Okay.
a C.
Right, so that's the 9, the flat 5, and the 13.
Absolutely, you got it. It's a nice, quick way of thinking of a very colourful chord.
Right.
Just
I'm
thinking-
able to tell you what I'm looking at, but I haven't
Yeah.
done this, so I really appreciate you showing me this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, the upper structure triad can be played in versions like that.
Okay, great.
If you can stretch that, you could... Okay, so the next one is the... you can do a flattened 5th. So the flattened 5th being G flat. You can play a G flat chord.
Okay,
G
so
flat
that's
major
the second
chord.
upper structure is the tritone, major.
Yep. And we've got the flattened 5th, the 7th, and the flattened 9th. Sounds like good in that voicing.
Right.
By the way, these upper structure triads often sound better when you're playing it in first or second inversion.
Right.
So root position, it works. Second inversion sounds good, as does first inversion up there. So that's your second upper structure triad. And then you've got one on the flattened 13th. So that's an A flat chord.
Right.
And again, it works better as an inversion like that. And then the last one is the 13th itself.
Flat 9 and the 3. Right. So can you just play something like maybe a couple of bars of tunes that employ the upper structure so I can hear it?
Sure. So, well, I'm going to do it on this. So,
Okay.
so that's upper structure on the
Okay,
13th.
tell me exactly where you are. What bar?
I'm on bar 8.
Okay, the D minor to the G7.
Yeah, and that's a sort of very common place where you would want to put them in, where you've got a really long melody note. I mean, it's been tied from the previous bar.
Okay.
And, you know, you don't have to actually keep the melody note down that long, because if you were accompanying a singer, you know, you would be sort of fairly free on that second bar to put something in yourself to fill in the space. So I'm just going, there's your D minor 7, and then I'm going, and it has a feeling of kind of leaving it hanging. It's a nice colourful thing. Another thing to note about, so I'll go back to the C7 one.
Go back to that. Just do what you did one more time, and just tell me the chords you're playing. So it's
Sure.
written for a melody note of B, and
Yep.
then
But-
there's a D minor and a G. Show me where you put in the upper structure chord.
Okay, right. So, first of all, I'm putting in A minor 7 there. So that's in the bar that just says G major 7. And then after that, I'm abandoning the melody note altogether.
Okay.
I'm making my own little melody. going on to D minor 7, but including a ninth,
Okay.
and then going up to the 7th, and then I'm putting the upper structure triad on the G7.
Okay.
Just going back to C7, there are 2 of the upper structure triads. That's the one on the flattened 13th and the one on the flattened 5th, which are next to each other. So you can get lovely movement like this. And then go to the flattened 13th one in an inversion. So you get a lovely...
Can you play like any tune that you hear in your mind that's like a standard where you employ those upper structures? I just want to hear the sound.
You know, when you have to think of something on the spot.
Anything. Any tune.
I can't. Where do I play that?
If not, perhaps you could just make a note, and then the next time you can,
Yeah.
you'll think of it, and you'll have a couple of tunes that employ those
Okay.
upper structures.
Yeah, will do.
Okay.
I mean, I did. Let me just think in Autumn Leave. You know, in Autumn Leaves, I like playing one just there.
No, you
on
don't
the
have to. You
D7.
don't have to just come up with
Yeah.
something now. When
Okay.
when I talk to you next time, you'll have had a
Sure.
week or whatever, and you'll have thought of a couple of things, and it'll be fine then. That's
Sure.
better. Okay.
Sure. Okay, do. So we're now on to the C minor 7 bar. Now the melody note is up there. Now that is the 3rd of the chord.
Right.
Add the bass note and then the remaining notes in between. So 7th. I can put 2/3 there. Now there's a voice in here that's often referred to as a Kenny Barron voicing. Where
Yeah, I've
what's
heard
the-
that term. That's one of the few
no.
I haven't studied. So I don't, what is a Kenny Barron voicing?
Well, it's a minor 7th chord, and in the middle of it you have the 9th, just a semitone away from the minor 3rd, and it just gives that lovely. It's discordant, but it's a pleasant discord, and then just go from the 9th to the root. Now, what I do the melody is 1, 2, 3, 4, but I like to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got the syncopated rhythm. You can be, take great liberties with the rhythm of the melody.
So the
And
Kenny Barron voicing for a minor 7 is 1 major 7, flat 3, flat 7, flat 3.
You've got the flattened 3 at the top, repeated there, and then the minor 7th there.
Right.
Root down there, 5th, and then this is the important. See, it's apart from that. If you take the 9th out, you've got a very nice open voicing.
Okay, right. So you're playing in the left hand. You're playing 1, 5, and 9,
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So that.
and then the
So
flat
it-
3, the flat 7, and the flat 3. I see it. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. So it's like a sort of contradiction because it's very open, but you've got a little cluster in the middle, and it works nicely. And then I've lost my place. Here we are. F7. Now you could just go, which is what's written, or you could put another flattened 5th substitute in on beat 3. So we're going from F7. We're heading towards B flat major 7. Flattened 5th substitute for F7.
Wait, I'm confused. Isn't the tritone B?
Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. We can put that in on beat 3. Like that. So I'm playing F7 and then putting B7 in.
Wait, I can't see your fingers. What? You're playing
Okay?
You're playing B7,
I'm playing F7 first,
right?
and then just here, that's B7. So I've got
Oh, the left hand, the pinky is playing the B. I see it. Okay.
that's it. Thumb on the A, third there. Now, that's the 13th in the melody there,
Okay.
going to the 7th.
Yeah, just show me again slowly, going
sure,
to
sure,
going to
sure.
the tritone from the F to the B.
Okay. So,
Because your finger, it's funny. That's why like chordy is interesting because it shows you the notes diagrammatically. With your hands, it's always a little bit
Yeah.
difficult to see what you're exactly playing.
sure, yeah.
Okay,
So I'm doing a very sort of open, spread out voicing here.
right. So
I'm
you're
putting
playing
the
you're playing in the left hand. Let me repeat what you're playing. You're playing 1-5-9, 1-5-3. Okay,
1-5-3, and then in the right hand, the melody note is the 7th, which I'm
Right.
doubling, and I'm also putting another third in, and then because we need an extra note, I'm putting the 9th in there.
right. So you're playing the flat 7, the 3, the 9.
Yep,
Flat 7, the 9, the major third? No.
yep,
And the flat 7 again.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. The only reason I'm doubling up on that is if you played it like that, you've got rather a large gap in the middle, which you
Right.
don't want. In chords, basically, you can have notes very close, huddled together up at the top, and then a great big gap down to the bottom. That is fine. Or you can have them fairly evenly spaced, but tending to get bigger towards the bottom. That works fine as well. So one's a closed voicing, one's an open voicing. But the kind of voicing that you avoid like the plague is that kind of thing where you've got all the left-hand notes.
You were it's muddy. You're right.
It sounds horrible down there, and then a great big gap in the middle.
Right.
So that's the F7. And then on B3, the melody note is A flat. I'm playing a B7 chord, so bass note, root, 7th, 3rd there. And you can put the 5th in as well. Or you could have the 5th down there. Not much to choose there. Or you could miss it out.
Wait a second. Wait a minute. I'm just slowly. Let's take a look at that B chord. You're playing-
Sure, yeah. So the melody there is A flat going to A. Now
Right.
on a B7 chord, A flat. If you think of it as G sharp, it makes it clearer.
Okay.
Then it's the 13th.
I see that. Okay. So play the B chord.
Okay, so that's the sort of basic thing. The root.
So that's the third. That's the major third. With your thumb is on the major third.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. The index finger is on the 13th. The A
Yeah.
flat is the 13th.
That's it.
The A
Which-
is the flat 7.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So just tell me what you're playing. B,
B,
Left
the
hand.
root,
right?
7th with my thumb.
Root flat 7 in the left hand.
Yep.
Okay.
3rd with my right hand.
Right, third.
thumb. 13th rather,
Right.
which rises a semitone because it's the melody note to the 7th.
Okay.
Now, you could put the 5th in with the left hand, F sharp there, or you could put it there, or you could put both. It doesn't really make much difference
Okay.
other than slightly thickening the texture. And then once again, major 7 chord on the B flat major 7, melody note is a 3rd. So I always tend to opt for this voice in double that 3rd, major 7th in the middle, left hand root and 5th. So nice, well spaced notes there. Now, you could just play this as written, nothing wrong with that. That sounds fine. If you want to put something else in, you could say, okay, on the F sharp, I'm going to make it, in fact, I could do it on the F. I'm going to make it not B flat major 7, but B flat 7.
Hold on, let me just see if I can find this lead. Hold on. All right, I should have had it up here. I copied it yesterday. Okay, just tell me what bar we're on.
It's 8, 9, 10, 11. Bar 11.
What, 8? 11. Okay, the B flat. Okay.
Yep, sure. Now, we're going from B flat to, in the next bar, E flat. Now, this is an example of what's often referred to as tonicization. Now, I don't know where, because I never used to hear that term, and all of a sudden it seems to be floating around the internet all the time now. It's always been there, the concept, but in actual fact, it does kind of explain what you're doing. You are saying to yourself, I'm going to make E flat the new tonic just for a moment, which is done in classical music.
So you're going from B flat major 7 to B flat dominant before you go to B flat.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So that would sound like this. And it does create a bit of harmonic movement there. Now, there's a few options here though, because you could say, well, how about putting, sorry, and then just here put in the flattened fifth substitute for B flat 7.
Can we, you're talking about the tritone?
Yep, that's it.
Can we try to call it the tritone rather than the flat?
Yeah,
because I think of a minor 7 flat 5 whenever you say flat 5.
Yeah, sure.
Put in the tritone, okay.
Which is E7.
Right.
And it works with that. You know when you're trying chord substitutions, very often the melody dictates whether it's a good idea or not, because it depends what the melody is in relation to that chord. Now, in this case, it's the 9th, and it kind of works quite nicely. However, now I don't know whether I might be going one step too far here, but have you heard of putting in chord 2 of the new dominant 7th first?
Yes, like put the minors before the dominant.
Yeah. So if we say let's forget that E7.
I know these rules, but I have what I need is for you to help me implement them. So before the dominant, you could always put in the minor 2-5 before the 5. You can put the
got it.
But I'm not.
Absolutely.
I haven't had any practice doing that, so that's just I would like to learn.
So in this case, right? So we're going from B flat major 7 rather. We're going to make it B flat 7, which is chord 5 in the key of E flat. So we can precede it with chord 2 in the key of E flat, which is F minor 7. So that would be play F minor 7 there. And that works quite nicely.
You're putting the F minor before the B flat.
Yes.
Yeah, that's making it 2-5-1. I got it. Okay.
That's it. Sorry, we got lost then. You can take that a stage further and say, instead of going to the B flat 7 though, put the flattened fifth substitute, but still keep the F minor. And that would sound like this. Now that bit, generally, when I get to something like that, I generally lose people.
Yeah, in that case.
So let's just go back and say, right, you seem quite you know, be comfortable with the notion of changing that to B flat 7 and then going to E flat 7.
Mhm.
You seem quite comfortable with the tritone. And you seemed okay with going, instead of going straight to B flat 7, put 2 in, which works nicely. But
What I don't do in my playing is I'm not playing like would you call that spread voicing when you're playing like 3 7
yes,
3 in the right hand. So I
yeah,
haven't really like I understand the concept, but I have
yeah,
not incorporated that in my playing. So
yeah,
I would like to, of course, but I'm just
yeah,
sharing with you that when I played in all the samples I played for you, all of my voicing was in the left hand, all the harmony, and I was playing
yeah,
melody in
yeah,
my right hand and almost no harmony in my right hand. So I
yeah,
would like to be able to incorporate that. So
absolutely, yeah.
just because I sound like I understand it doesn't mean I'm implementing it.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So the final stage, which is the one where I think you didn't quite get, and funnily enough, I was trying to teach somebody else this exact same thing the other day, and she just kept pulling her
Yeah, so
hair
I don't
out.
know. Just repeat the concept. But repeat the concept. What?
So we got this far where you said, right, we're going to put chord 2 in, F
Right.
minus 7, and then F, and then B flat 7 going to this. So we've just put a 2 5 1 in.
Right.
But then we can take that a stage further and say the 5, you can still put chord 2 in, but instead of 5, you can go as an option.
Oh, right. Put in
Try
right. Right. Put it 2 5 and then substitute the tritone for the 5.
That's it.
Or
So
play both. Or
therefore,
do you play both?
in this case, no, I'm doing a substitution.
Just the
So
tritone. Okay.
I'm just doing that, playing F minus 7. And if you look at the bass note there, we've got F, E, E flat. Now that's whenever you get chromatic notes going down, especially when it's in contrary motion to the melody, that's always strong.
Right. I know that. Right.
So that, you know,
Right.
I mean, to be honest, either of those work. Or I think on balance, I prefer the tritone one. Now, those last 2 notes were on the last bar of that line, which is 9, 10, 11, bar 12 now. So you can do the Barry Harris here. On the F, just play.
So you're on bar 12. Is that what you said?
Yep,
Where-
bar 12. So first of all, I'm doing the voicing that I tend to do most when we've got a major 7th with the 3rd in the melody.
So wait, you're playing the E flat major chord, yes?
Yep,
So you're playing the 3rd, the major 7th, and the 3rd in the right hand.
that's it. And the left hand, just the root and the 5th. Now, the F is generally, it's thought of as a passing note in between E flat and G. In this case, it doesn't come from E flat, it comes from G, goes down 1 and back up. But you can still put that diminished 7th passing chord in. So that,
Okay, show me that again.
yeah, sure.
You're starting from the last chord you played on the first beat is the E flat major chord.
That's it. With the voicing that I've been doing pretty well all the way through.
Okay. So
That
you're
really
playing a
opened
1 5 and then a 3 7 3 in the right hand.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then what do you do next after that?
Okay, so on the F, it's a non-chord note. I mean, well, I'm saying it's a non-chord note. That's it. If you're thinking of it as a classical musician would, you would think that the F is a non-chord note. Of course, it's the 9th.
It's the 9th at E flat, right?
But for the purpose of this, say
Right.
it's not part of the triad, basically.
Right.
So you can harmonise it with a diminished 7th chord.
Great. Yeah, the A flat diminished. Right. Which is the
Yep,
same as the F diminished, which is the same as the B and the D diminished.
absolutely.
Okay.
And then on the G, keep that block chord voicing and make it an E flat 6, because it didn't really work with the major seventh there like that, but it does with the 6. So no, you don't have to. I mean, you could just go. That sounds fine, but it's just I'm telling you, options doesn't mean say you have to use them
Right.
all. Now on the A minus 7, once again I'm putting that Kenny Barron thing in. So you've got the third there, root there, third again, seventh, the ninth next to the third there. So
The confusing the what's his name, Barron,
Kenny Barron.
Kenny Barron plays the major in the minor chord. He plays the major seventh momentarily. Is that it?
No. It's the ninth, which
Oh, I'm
goes
sorry. He
down
plays
to
the
the
ninth. Right.
root.
It's
Yeah.
right. It's the ninth, and then dropping back to the.
It just goes to the
root.
root. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here's an example where you can put an upper structure triad on. And it's a case of personal,
Right.
taste there. Some people find that a little bit too far out. I kind of like it, but... So that's the flattened fifth major triad. That's the flattened fifth, C, E flat.
Right. So I think so. The upper triads that you mentioned are the
Yeah.
2, the
Yep,
tritone,
yep,
the 13,
yeah.
and the
And the flattened 13.
and the flat
as well.
13. Okay.
Yeah, and they're all major. So now you might think that there's one sort of thing that makes you think, does it really work there? Because the next melody note is E. I still kind of like it, but it's kind of optional. You could just do a straightforward like that. You could just play the ninth, the fifth, and the seventh, or you could put the flat nine. They're all options really, and you just sort of play the one that you like the sound of best. I'm putting another flattened fifth substitute here on beat 3. Tritone substitute. We're going to G, so that's dominant to tonic. So the tritone substitute is always a semitone above the tonic. So A flat 7. Now that's root, 7th, 3rd, and the melody note. Now the melody note's written as E sharp, but if you think of it as F, then it's the 13th.
Right.
And then it rises to the 7th. I don't tend to do much there. On the A minus 7, D7, this is a pretty standard thing to do. So just there you've got the root, the 7th, the 3rd, the 5th, and that drops nicely to the flattened 9th. And then you're back to the repeat, but we'll skip the repeat. I'll go on to the second time bar, which is the next line.
Okay.
So you could play, you see, once again, there's so many places in this tune where you've got the melody note is the third of a major seventh chord. So you could play it like that, or you could play it more spaced out. You could arpeggiate it with the left hand by going root, fifth, third, fifth, third. Which sounds quite nice. And then you could put diminished seventh in there if you want. You could go. What I'm doing there is that you know that A minor 7 contains the same notes as C major 6.
Right. That I know. In fact, I've always found it easier, believe it or not. I don't know if it's a cheat or not, but when I see the -7 flat 5, I often play the -6 because it's easier for me to play.
Sure. So if you think of that as being C major 6 rather than A minor 7, then those three notes can be harmonized with C6, diminished seventh, C6. So open voicing first. And again, you could make that open voicing. Drop two voice. I don't think it sounds quite so good just there. And then B minor 7.
Let me see. -7. Hold it for a second.
Sure, yeah.
Did you move your left hand? You're playing the in the left hand.
I'm playing the root.
-7 and the root. And
yep.
Then you're playing.
I'm doubling the melody note, which is the third.
Right. So you're playing the flat 3 and
yep.
the 5 and.
Yep. I'm doubling a seventh there, rather. You could miss that out if you like.
I see it. Okay.
And then it's going to E minor 7. Or, once again, you can put in diminished seventh there. And, you know, with the left hand, instead of going up...
How do you know when you can put the diminished in?
Okay, because it's this thing again about the F sharp is in terms of an E minor 7 chord. If you just think of the first part of it, the E minor triad.
Okay.
You can play a diminished seventh on the notes in between E and G, that's F sharp, and between G and B, that's A. So you could go... So that's part of the Barry Harris scale thing, basically.
Right. So in terms of determining whether you can use the diminished, like if you played a C6, then I know I can play the D diminished. Is that?
Yeah, you can play if the melody note was D, that's in between C and E in the chord, and therefore the diminished seventh word. Do you know why it works, by the way? About it being like playing 1-5-1. If we look at, say, C6, going to D diminished, going to C6, going to F diminished, going to C6. Just take that first part of the scale. So, well, why does that work?
Because you're inverting the C. You're playing the same two chords over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, and the diminished chord. Probably, let's see, you're playing a C6 followed by the, let's see, the D diminished goes to, it's C6. So I think it's a G7 flat 9, right? Which is going.
You got it. You got it. Absolutely. Spot on. That's why that is why it works. Yeah, absolutely. So,
I thought about this a lot because it was so beautiful that I had to figure it out.
yeah, absolutely. Now, the next bar is just a long note on A7. And what you almost always do there is put a suspended fourth in. So D is the fourth.
Wait, so where are you exactly?
I'm on the, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 17, 18, bar 20.
Oh, the third bar from the end.
Uh,
The
no,
D7?
have I? No, it's the A7.
Or the A minus 7. Okay.
No, A7, A7.
Oh, I
It's
see.
straight,
Okay.
straight. What's written there is just
Okay.
A7. If you
Okay.
do that, then there isn't any kind of tension or movement. So the standard thing always when you get a long dominant chord, long melody note, is put the suspension in. So the suspension is the fourth, which then resolves to the third. Now, what you generally do is also put the ninth in. So you still have the melody note there. The suspension, the fourth, or it's also
Okay,
called
let's
the
just, can we
11th.
do this in the key of C for a second? Just,
Yeah, sure.
okay.
So in the
So in
key, in the key, in the key
the
of
key of C,
C,
you have a whole note. So it's four measures with a C7, let's say, okay?
well, C7 would be in the key of F, wouldn't it?
Right, it would be GCF, right.
Yeah. So in the key of C, it would be a G7.
Let's
Is
do it
that-
in the key of F. Let's do it in the key of F then.
Okay then. So C7.
Right.
So instead of playing the third of the chord, say the melody was the fifth there.
Okay.
Instead of playing the third, you would play first of all the fourth, which is the suspended note, which then
The fourth is an F. Oh, I know, right. So which chord are you suspending?
I'm putting a suspended fourth in the chord of C7.
I got it. Okay, which then resolves to the C7. Is that it?
Yes, the fourth resolves to the third,
So
like that.
right. So play it now. Just in this key. Can you just play that in this key?
So what I'm doing there is, I'll tell you what, I'll do it without the fancy bit, just like that.
Yeah. These are all things that I've thought about and haven't been able to do on my own. I've seen it demonstrated and I heard it because I can
Yeah.
appreciate the sound of going from the suspended, which resolves so beautifully, to the dominant, but haven't been able to incorporate it. That's what
Sure, yeah.
right.
So generally what you would do is to add colour to it as well as the suspended fourth, which remember is referred to as the 11th. 11th and
Right.
suspended fourth, same
Right.
thing. Add the nines
Now,
as
so
well.
again, when you play it, you're just playing a single note. What I've noticed very often, what people demonstrate is, for example, in C, they'll play a B flat triad over it in order to get the F. Do you know what I'm
Yes.
referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. You could do that.
Well, no, I don't. What I'm saying is that's what
Yeah.
people seem to be suggesting when they suspend something is to play the triad a whole note below. I just wanted to know whether you want to comment on that or not. Whether
That's is absolutely right. Or you could think of it like that. Another way is think of it as playing chord 2, which is G minor 7,
okay.
but with C in the bass,
Okay.
which basically is more or less the same as what you were saying, B flat triad, but I've got the G in as well. And of course that can be inverted. Now, when you resolve it, the that resolves to the E, but the D resolves to the flat 9, so you get this beautiful sound like that.
Right.
Now you can also take that further up. Think of what you said about the B flat chord with C in the bass, but add the A, so you've now got B flat major 7 chord, and then you can have a triple sort of resolution. That's the 13th of C7. Go to the flattened 13th, 4th to the 3rd, 9 to the flattened 9th. Or just say it. Another way of thinking of that is just a D minor chord going to C sharp minor. But basically what's happening there is the fundamental thing is the suspended 4th resolving to the 3rd, the 9th to the flat 9th. You've almost always want the 9th going to the flat 9th, and sometimes it might be appropriate for the 13th to the flat.
Yeah, I'll give you a sense of the world that I'm living in. Is that like on something on YouTube, I saw someone demonstrating that. I practiced it, learned it, but then never incorporated in it.
Right, sure.
Because I never incorporated it. Then the second time I'm seeing it is now, and I remember it, but having not used it, it was like it was useless. I suppose it has some value because I remember it, but now hopefully my purpose here is to incorporate it. So then I have to make it part of my armamentarium of playing.
Absolutely. And then having got there with more or less done it then, because that next bit is just the same as we did it before.
Yeah, I love that diminished walk up. That's great.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? And then the melody just change there. Instead of going up to C, it just goes and then to B, which is the 13th. So you play that in the normal sort of way: melody, bass, 7th, 3rd, and I would keep the flattened 9th in.
Right.
Now, there's just one thing to finish off. Instead of going straight to the G6 at the end, whenever you finish on the tonic being the keynote,
right,
and on a major 6th or 7th chord, you can always play, first of all, the major 7th a semitone above it. So that would sound like this.
I see it. Then, major 7 is what you're playing?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And you can take that a stage further by saying, instead of going straight to A flat 7, we can do this. Go up a semitone from the dominant to E flat major 7, then to A flat major 7.
Oh, that sounds great, yeah. Could you just show me the last thing? Could you just show me like the 1-6-2-5 going from A7 to D7, just a turn?
Yeah, so I would just go, I would go to the flat 9th. So
it sounds great. I wish I could. I'll work on it,
You know, on the bit where I went up to E flat major 7, then A flat major 7, then G major 7, you could incorporate those arpeggios in that. So you could go, that's where you double the 3rd with the 7th in the middle, or double the 7th with the 3rd in the middle, and then just use the sustain pedal, just move your hand up, Don't try and edge your way up, just literal jump like that.
Right. Well, I really
Right.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. I've enjoyed it. It's lovely to have somebody who really wants to understand these things.
No, I really appreciate it. I mean, I've tried about, I wouldn't say it, 3 or 4 teachers, and
Right.
every one is like so rigid. It was like my children when one child took violin lessons, and each musician would have their own idiosyncrasies. But since it was a kid, it's like just put up with the teacher. They know what they're doing. But I haven't been able to find somebody until now that I can actually work with.
Oh,
You
brilliant.
understand what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Everyone, I've been doing this for 50 years. Like, don't tell me how to teach. And-
No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. There's a girl who's, well, a girl. I mean, everybody's a girl to me if they're under 50 these days. She's in the late 30s. But she's a piano teacher herself, but she's never learnt anything at all about lead sheets and that.
Right,
It's like another world to her and that, but she really wants to know. But she's forever saying, "Hang on, put the reins on,"
right.
Stop. So absolutely, feel free to do that. Tell me to stop and go slower.
Right. No, I
and
really
explain
appreciate it. I
again,
enjoyed it very much.
Good, lovely, right.
Okay. So tell me how to pay you, first of all.
Well, today's a freebie. Today
Okay.
was a trial lesson. So after that, I would just, if I can just send you my bank details and you'll do
Okay.
a bank transfer. That's the
Okay.
easy way. Okay, doke.
Okay. And so how should we schedule these things? How should we going forward?
Right. Is this time that we've done today? Is that generally all right? Or
Sure. I'm sort of semi-retired, so yeah, I'll make time for you. You're the important thing in my life.
lovely. Thank you. Okay, I'll tell you what would be really nice.
So,
Some
right,
of the
so the thing is, I wouldn't be able to start any earlier than this. This is about as early as I could start. Just
Yeah, sure.
recall what time it was your time, and think that we could start there or later, but not earlier.
Right. Okay. I could make it an hour later if you prefer.
Okay, yeah, that might be better.
Would that be better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's 6 o'clock my time, which is 10 o'clock your time. Is that?
What time did you start? Well,
I,
anyway,
I, I,
yeah,
I,
I think it's 8 hours difference,
yeah. I started at 5 o'clock my time today.
and I think that was 9. I thought it was 9 a.m., but I'll have to check.
That would be 8 hours. Yeah.
I was just barely getting up, and I noticed an email from you, and I said, "Boy, I better get dressed quick."
Ah, dear. Lovely.
All right,
Ah,
so
dear.
right, so how do you want to pace these? In other words, the way I see it is, I'm going to try to save the video, and then begin to look at it and try to
Sure.
struggle through it.
Yeah.
So, should we? Should I try to see how do you approach it in terms of timing?
I'm entirely flexible. I mean,
Okay.
most people have a lesson once a week, but take the lessons as suits you.
Right.
I'm totally flexible.
Okay, that sounds great. So why don't I try to look at the stuff, and then
Yeah.
I'll send you an email. And if I'm way behind, during the week, maybe what I might suggest to you is some things that I'd like to work on that are more difficult, and you can
Absolutely. Yeah.
send anything to me if you want. If you have
Yeah.
any materials
Yeah.
for learning any of these things, I'd appreciate it, or any references.
Yeah.
And I don't have. I mentioned WhatsApp to you because someone else suggested it to me, but I really don't have a lot of experience using it. So in terms of can I reach you by telephone on WhatsApp? No. I
Yes. Yes, you can. Yes.
mean, actually sitting there, just like your phone rang before, I can do something on WhatsApp and a phone will
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know. All
Yeah.
right. And
Sure. Yeah.
so, and I know I've sent messages. I think I can dictate something and then send it, and it'll
Yeah.
be like sending an email that will also get to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Anything
That's
else
good.
that I can tell you? I just want to tell you how much I appreciate working with you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. If you could send me lead sheets of other things that you've been working
Okay,
on that
great.
you'd like
Yeah.
me to cover, that would be really great. Yeah.
Sounds good. And
Es-
yeah,
espe-
what I'll also
especially ones with lyrics. They'd be great.
okay. And as I'm working along, perhaps if there are areas I'm struggling, I'll try to send you little pieces of what I'm struggling with, so maybe you can tweak them.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
brilliant.
sounds good. So anything else? That's it. Thank you very much. It's been great.
I've enjoyed it. Okay,
Okay,
lovely.
thanks a lot. So
Thank you very much.
how do I save this thing? I won't lose it, right? How do I?
No, I think that you just press stop recording, and
Okay,
I'm
wait. Okay,
pretty
so pause.